Have you ever wondered what the Roman soldier actually saw when he pierced Jesus' side with his spear? It wasn't just blood and water. What he witnessed left him stunned, changing his way of thinking forever. This story will challenge what you once believed and make you think deeply. What was this miracle? And why does it have such great significance? Join us in this video. You surely won't want to miss it. Let us go back 2,000 years to a day that shook heaven and earth. The day Jesus was crucified on Mount Golgotha. For Roman soldiers, it was just a task to ensure that the execution went off without a hitch. But for the world, it was a moment of sacrifice. Among that group of soldiers, one would play a crucial role in a strange event that would change his life forever. When Jesus breathed his last, darkness covered everything, and human hearts were filled with fear and anxiety. That soldier received a crucial order to pierce Jesus' side with his lance to make sure he was really dead. What happened next was unlike anything I had ever seen in any battle before. Blood and water came out, a simple image but full of miracle. But did something else happen? The soldier was there, witness to something strange, a sacred moment that he could not understand. And it was not just what his eyes saw, but what his heart felt. So what was that experience? Why did it completely change your view of Jesus? To understand this miracle, we must go back. Jesus' crucifixion was the climax of hours of suffering. The crowd watched, some screaming, others crying, creating a chaotic scene. The Roman soldier was there. It was not the first time he had witnessed an execution. He was used to blood and death, but this time, the atmosphere was different, as if the universe was watching. The sky suddenly darkened at noon. Black clouds swirled, blocking out the sun, causing everyone to shudder. The soldier couldn't help but feel that something strange was about to happen. He heard the worried murmurs of the crowd and the cold wind blowing. A restlessness grew in the soldier's heart, even though he had been trained to remain calm. Jesus, with his bloody body hanging on the cross, had his eyes closed, but it seemed that something supernatural was happening around him. The soldier felt it clearly. At that moment, he received the order from his superior to pierce Jesus' side with the lance to confirm his death, an order he was accustomed to, but for some reason, he hesitated. The soldier took up the spear and moved forward. He had performed hundreds of tasks like this, but this time, something was different. An invisible weight made his hand tremble. He pointed the spear and pierced Jesus' side. Blood and water gushed forth, but at the same time, a bright light emerged, making everything around him seem to stop. That light was not normal. It stunned the soldier, his head spun, and his heart suddenly felt light. He felt a divine power enveloping him. He looked at Jesus, whom he had seen a few minutes before as a condemned prisoner. But now, it seemed that a truth was revealed to him, and he could not deny it. His knees buckled, his eyes filled with tears. The soldier, a hardened warrior, suddenly felt small before the miracle he had just witnessed. All his pride vanished. Those around still did not understand what had happened, but for the soldier, every moment was etched in his soul. A transformation had occurred in his heart. He stood up, his hands still shaking, looking at Jesus' wound. He realized that Jesus was no ordinary man. He was truly someone special. The soldier's mind filled with questions. He had believed in the strength of the army, in the power of Rome, but now, what he had just witnessed shook him. He remembered Jesus' words, what he said about forgiveness and love. Those words now echoed in his mind. making him question their true meaning. As the soldier stepped back, he knew he had changed. He was no longer a soldier who merely followed orders. He had become a witness to something more sacred than reason. And from that day on, the soldier was never the same. He began a journey in search of the truth, wanting to understand the man who suffered on the cross and the meaning of that sacrifice. The crowd began to disperse, but the soldier remained there, as if he could not take his eyes off the cross. His eyes were filled with wonder and reverence that he himself did not understand. He looked at the mourners, at Jesus' family members in deep pain, and he realized that this death was not just an ordinary event. It had a meaning that went beyond all understanding. The soldier remembered how Jesus had prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Those words now resonated powerfully, touching the depths of his soul. His heart felt an awakening. How could someone in such extreme pain pray for his enemies? He began to sense that there was a divine power that he did not yet understand. In confusion and amazement, the soldier looked at his companions, the other soldiers. They did not know what had happened in his heart, but he knew that he would never be the same again. He wondered what had happened to him. For the first time in his life, he felt the emptiness of military force and the helplessness of facing a much larger power. The soldier began to question the values he had pursued. Did strength, glory, and victory still have meaning after witnessing someone willing to die for love? He had no answers, but he knew that his life would take a new direction. The death of Jesus had awakened in him a journey in search of the truth. Little by little, he heard the crying of the women beside the cross, the wind blowing through the hills, and he realized that what he had witnessed could not be forgotten. On the way home, he pondered the meaning of it all. Who was Jesus? How could his death bring such a profound feeling to him? He always thought he was strong, but now he realized he was weak in the face of Jesus' sacrifice and love. Something greater had touched his life. His heart was beating rapidly, not from fear, but from the realization that what he had witnessed was unlike anything in the bloody battles he had experienced. On that day, a Roman soldier stopped believing in violence and power. He was no longer a conqueror, but a seeker of truth. What happened to the soldier afterwards? History does not record it, but it is said that he became a living witness to the miracles he had witnessed. Those who know this story say that he traveled everywhere, telling about Jesus' sacrifice, about the unconditional love he had for humanity. Whatever the truth, no one can deny that on that day, a callous soldier was touched. A hardened heart was softened by grace. The story of that soldier is a reminder that we can all change. No matter our past, God's love can transform anything. He left, but not as an insensitive soldier, but as an awakened man. Questions about faith, about truth, had begun a journey that would change his life. And you too can be touched by the story of this sacrifice. Jesus sacrificed out of love, an unconditional love for all of us, no matter our faults. Imagine the change in that soldier's heart. If a heart of stone like his could be moved, then no one is incapable of being transformed by love. Her story makes us wonder, what if we opened our hearts to receive that love? What if we dared to change? We don't need to be perfect to be loved. Even the soldier, a warrior who caused suffering, was covered by love and grace. So what really happened to the soldier? This story is not just about one man, but about all of us, called to change. We may not be Roman soldiers, but we are sometimes insensitive too, unaware of the love and grace that call to us every day. The love of Jesus is a gift that does not demand perfection, only a heart willing to open, willing to change, like the soldier who was touched. The soldier walked away from the cross with a soul that was no longer the same. He began a journey in search of the true meaning of love, sacrifice, and forgiveness. It is a journey we are all invited to take, a journey of discovery, of faith, and of realizing that we are loved unconditionally. You may be asking yourself, what does this have to do with me? Remember that the soldier's story is a reminder that we are never too far gone to be transformed. We may have done many bad things, but God's love is always greater than our sins. That grace is the gift Jesus sacrificed so we could receive. The soldier realized that Jesus' death was not the end, but the beginning of something much greater, salvation and hope for us all. The image of the soldier kneeling before the cross is proof that even the hardest can be touched by the love of God. No one is too far away to be redeemed. Let this story awaken you. Imagine, if you open your heart to receive that love, what could change in your life? What would make you more complete? We all have a spiritual journey. You may be in the midst of challenges, but remember that grace is always available, even when you feel like you don't deserve it. The soldier, who had been an executor of justice, became someone who knew mercy. He discovered that power is not everything, but humility and faith. Standing before the cross, all power and fame become insignificant. That soldier realized his smallness in the face of such great love, a love capable of changing the world. Now stop and ask yourself, are you willing to open your heart to receive Jesus' forgiveness and love? Are you ready to begin a journey of transformation? That soldier dared to change, to let God's love soften his heart. And you can too, no matter what you've been through, or if you ever thought you couldn't change. The soldier's story is proof that no one is without hope. We are all invited to find truth, forgiveness, and a new life in God. And the wonderful thing is that this journey doesn't have to be perfect. We can start from the brokenness, from the mistakes, and from there, find healing and true transformation. The soldier left Mount Golgotha, not knowing that his story would be told thousands of years later as a testimony to God's incomprehensible power and grace. That story continues to awaken faith in our hearts today, reminding us that everyone can be touched and loved, even those we least expect. The soldier saw the blood and water coming from Jesus' side, but what he didn't expect was that that love would continue to spread and change the world forever. So the final question for you is, are you willing to let that miracle touch your life? God is waiting, ready to welcome you with loving arms. We don't know exactly what happened to the soldier afterwards, but his story is a powerful reminder that no one is incapable of change. Open your heart and let that love transform you. Remember that God's grace is always present, just waiting for us to accept it. You don't have to do it alone. The soldier's journey can be your journey. Even if you feel like you don't deserve it, God still loves you and is ready to do miracles in your life. And that is why this story continues to be told throughout the generations, reminding us of a great love and infinite grace available to all of us. Imagine that you are standing before the cross, as the soldier was in the past. How would you react? Are you willing to allow something greater to touch your life? That blood did not fall to the ground without meaning. It carries the meaning of redemption for all humanity. Jesus sacrificed for love, and you too are part of that love. The soldier's story ends with a new beginning, and your life can also start a new page if you accept that you are loved unconditionally. None of us are perfect, but grace is freely given. That is what the soldier learned. Love has no conditions. It only needs a heart willing to receive. Step forward, receive that love, and let it transform you. No matter what you have done, you are loved and called to a full life. The soldier did it, and his journey was changed forever. What about you? Are you ready to be changed, to enter a new life? Think about this. Every journey begins with a first step. That first step is to open your heart and let the love of Jesus transform you from within. The moment the spear pierced Jesus' side, blood and water gushed forth, and the soldier was stunned. It was not just a wound, it was the beginning of something inexplicable. The soldier was used to death, but this time it was different. A strange light enveloped him, and he felt the presence of something sacred that he had never seen before. He fell to his knees, not out of fear, but because he understood that this was not just the end of a life. It was the beginning of something much bigger. The soldier's heart, once cold and hardened, suddenly felt the truth. He realized that the love Jesus showed was stronger than death and violence. Silence enveloped him, as if the entire universe were listening. The soldier was no longer thinking of the glory of Rome, but of the power of mercy he had just witnessed. He had seen much blood spilled on the battlefield, but he had never felt a strange peace like this. His heart melted in the face of an inexplicable love. That was the moment when all his pride, all the violence and power he once believed in, disappeared. The soldier realized that he was no longer the same. I didn't know how to explain what I had seen, but I knew that Jesus was no ordinary man. He was something much bigger. A voice echoed in his heart. Their love is real. Those words came not from anyone else, but from deep within his soul, awakening him. He turned away from the cross, but he could not turn away from this feeling. He, a soldier who had once been cruel, now felt his heart soft, vulnerable to love. The soldier knew his life had changed forever. He was no longer just someone who followed orders. He was now a witness to incomprehensible love and grace. The soldier's story is not just about a miracle, but about transformation. Even the hardest of hearts can be touched, and grace is available to all. I couldn't be the same again. I couldn't live without thinking about what I had seen. That was a truth I couldn't deny. Love conquers death. And so the soldier began a journey of search. He was no longer seeking power, but truth. He was searching for a hope that he had touched on Mount Golgotha. The soldier knew that Jesus was not just a man, he was the Savior. And that changed his life completely, a change that nothing could reverse. He remembered the days when he had just followed orders, but now he understood that it was not power or violence that was greatest. Love and forgiveness were greatest. Standing before the cross, the soldier felt his smallness. He was no longer a strong warrior. He was faced with a power he could not explain. He could only revere. She left with questions in her heart, but also with a new faith. A faith that her life could be redeemed, that there was hope even for the lost. He, who thought he knew everything, now only wanted to understand the love that led Jesus to die. A love he had never understood, but now he longed to know. The soldier no longer thought of glory or victory, but of forgiveness. He began to understand that humanity is not redeemed by power, but by mercy. And from that day on, he became a witness, not a witness to violence, but to the miracle of love. a witness whose story would be told for generations. It is said that he never stopped talking about Jesus, about how love changed his life, and anyone who knew him saw the light of hope in his eyes. You may not be a Roman soldier, but this story is still an invitation to you. God's love and grace can still touch you right now. That soldier reminds us that no one is irredeemable. No one is too far away for God's love to soften their heart, and we just need to be willing to receive. So, are you willing to open your heart to this love? A love that can transform you, as it did the soldier, and help you find true meaning. The love of Jesus is not just a story. It is a living power, ready to do wonders in your life, if you will only believe and receive it. The soldier was ready to change, ready to let his heart be touched, and so are you. No matter what you've done, God's love is still waiting for you. Transformation doesn't have to be complicated. It just needs a sincere moment when you open your heart and say, God, I need you. His love will do the rest. On Mount Golgotha, a soldier left his hardness behind and was changed by a love he could not deny. Let this story make you reflect. Are you willing to let that love touch you? Are you ready to embark on a new journey where grace is your guide and love is your strength? We are not perfect, but God's love is for those who are willing to receive it. Let the soldier's story be an inspiration to you today. You don't need to have all the answers. Just open your heart and let God do His work in you. That's what happened to the soldier, and it can happen to you too. That soldier found truth and love at an unexpected moment. And you? Are you ready to find it right now, at this moment? That is the message of hope. No one is too far gone to be saved. Let love guide you, as it guided the soldier, on a journey filled with faith and purpose. The soldier understood that grace is not for the perfect, but for those who know they need it. And that is also true for you and me today. I had no more doubts. Jesus died for love. This changed his life, and it can change yours too, if you accept this truth. The truth is that we all make mistakes, but grace is a free gift. Jesus paid the price so that you could be forgiven and live a new life. The soldier opened his heart, and from then on, a new journey began. That journey continues to invite us all, even in today's times. Think about his transformation. If a cold-hearted soldier could change, so can you. No one is too far gone to be saved, and that includes you. Let this story awaken hope in you. God's love is still waiting, ready to change your heart and lead you to a life filled with faith. And so, a soldier became a witness to the greatest sacrifice. And you? Are you willing to be a witness to God's love? When we stand before the cross, as the soldier did, we have the opportunity to be transformed. Love can melt even the hardest of hearts. So open your heart. Let that love work wonders in you. No matter what you've been through, grace is always ready to touch you, just as it touched the soldier. This story is not about perfection, but about the willingness to change. Even a callous warrior can be redeemed. How about you? The love Jesus showed doesn't require us to be perfect, just that we be willing to open our hearts and receive. And that's the power of grace. The soldier saw the light of truth, and so can you. The truth is that no one is too far away for God's love to touch and transform them. Stop and ask yourself, what is stopping you from opening your heart? What is holding you back? Let those things go and allow this love to take you to a new life. And if you feel your heart beating, don't ignore this moment. Let the miracle of grace touch you and begin your journey of transformation. You don't need to wait for a perfect day. Here and now you can be touched, you can be forgiven, and you can find peace in God's love. That soldier was not perfect, but he was changed by grace. His story is a testimony that God's love can change anyone. This is the invitation. No one is forgotten. No one is abandoned. God is waiting for you, with loving arms and infinite forgiveness, ready to welcome you. Let your heart soften. Let the soldier's story be your inspiration, so that you too can embark on a journey of transformation and hope. Life may be full of failures, but God's love is always greater than those mistakes. The soldier learned this, and you can feel it today too. Are you ready? Ready to begin the journey, to discover boundless love and infinite grace? That is the invitation that awaits you. Before the cross, the soldier found the truth. And you, when you face the cross in your life, are you willing to accept that truth? Let God's love transform you. Don't let fear or doubt hold you back. Love is stronger than fear, and grace is more powerful than hopelessness. That soldier never imagined that his life would change forever in a single moment. And you, perhaps, also never imagined that this moment could change you. It all starts with one small step, opening your heart. The soldier did it and found a new life. Let his story awaken faith in you. You don't have to have all the answers or understand everything. You just have to believe. You just have to receive the love. That's what the soldier learned, and what you can learn too. God's love never changes. Even when we fall, He is there, ready to pick us up, just as He did with the soldier, and just as He will do with you. One day on Mount Golgotha, the soldier saw love present in suffering, and you too can see that love in your own trials, if you open your heart. Are you willing to love, forgive, and be transformed? That is the question the soldier's story asks us today, and the answer is within you. The soldier's journey did not end at the cross. It began there, and your journey can begin today too, when you accept God's love. Let this story take you to a deeper understanding of love and grace. Let it inspire you to step into a life filled with hope. As you move forward, remember that God's love is unchanging. It doesn't depend on your successes or failures. It only requires your willingness to receive and trust it. The soldier learned this, and now you can learn it too. Let your heart be touched and begin the miraculous journey of transformation right now. Don't wait any longer. God's love is waiting for you, a love that can transform you, heal you, and give you true life. The first step is to open your heart. The soldier left the cross, but the love he saw never left him. Let that love become your story, a story of faith and hope. Remember, no one is irredeemable. God's love is for everyone, including you. Let grace work wonders in you. Let the soldier's story inspire you to love, to forgive, and to find hope in Jesus. Your life can be transformed. You just need to believe. In the end, love always triumphs. That is the message of the cross, and that is what the soldier learned. Let that love touch you and guide you. After witnessing Jesus' sacrifice, the soldier walked away from the cross, carrying with him a feeling he had never known before: reverence, humility, and deep repentance. He couldn't stop thinking about what he had seen and felt. That scene haunted him, but in a good way, as if a new fire had been lit in his soul. The soldier remembered the battles he had been in, where violence and death were commonplace. But now, he saw that true strength was not in swords, but in love. His heart, once frozen by the life of a warrior, had now been melted by Jesus' sacrifice. He realized that love was the most powerful weapon. The soldier no longer wanted to live as before. Something had changed completely in him. He longed to better understand the one who had died on the cross for love of humanity. The other soldiers may not have understood what had happened to him, but in his heart, he knew he had found a truth that nothing could erase. He began to seek out Jesus' disciples, those who could help him better understand the love and forgiveness Jesus preached. His journey was just beginning. I wanted to hear more about Jesus' teachings, about how he loved his enemies, about how he forgave those who hurt him. The soldier understood that he couldn't change the past, but he could change the path ahead. And now, he had a new purpose: to live a life based on love. The guilt that once tormented him was now replaced by hope. He realized that forgiveness was not something he could earn, but a gift from God. He began to understand that grace was not a reward for the deserving, but a gift that could not be bought, but could only be accepted with gratitude. Every day, the soldier tried to live with the love and mercy that Jesus taught. It was not an easy journey, but it was a journey worth taking. Those who knew him noticed the change in him. He was no longer a brutal soldier. He was now someone who brought hope, someone who knew how to love and forgive. He told his story to anyone who would listen, about the moment he met Jesus on the cross and how that moment changed his life forever. He was not ashamed to say that he had made mistakes, because he now understood that forgiveness was the best thing he had ever received. God's love had saved him. His heart, once hardened, was now soft. He no longer looked down on the weak, but learned to protect and love them, just as God had loved him. The soldier knew his journey would not end until he met God again. But now, he had faith that one day he would see Jesus in glory. It was no longer a life of fear and death. Now, the soldier lived in peace, knowing that God's love was stronger than death and despair. Every time he recalled that moment on Mount Golgotha, he felt a deep reverence and indescribable gratitude. That was the moment that changed his life. And that is the lesson we can also learn from the soldier, that God's grace can touch anyone, no matter what their past. You too may feel unworthy, like the soldier. But remember, God's love is not based on merit, but on his infinite mercy. The soldier's journey is proof that no one is beyond redemption. No matter what you've done, you can still find forgiveness and hope in God. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. The soldier wasn't perfect either, but he found true love, and you can find it too. So, are you willing to let your heart be changed, like the soldier did? Let his story be the inspiration to begin your own journey. You may feel like you are not worthy, but God's grace is sufficient. That is what the soldier learned, and it is something we can embrace today as well. Her journey is a testament that love and forgiveness are always available to all of us. Don't let fear or your past hold you back. Move forward. God's love is not changed by what we have done. It only requires that we be willing to open our hearts and receive it. Let the soldier's story encourage you to do so. The soldier began a new journey, not knowing what awaited him, but he knew that his life had been changed forever by the love of God. When you stand before the cross, as the soldier did, remember that you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be willing to be loved and transformed. Let the soldier's story remind you that no one is too far gone to be redeemed. God's love is stronger than any mistake or past. Before the cross, you can find forgiveness, peace, and a new beginning. That is the invitation for you, as it was for the Roman soldier. And as you move forward, remember that you never walk alone. God's love accompanies you, just as that love accompanied the soldier on his new journey. Love never fails. That's what the soldier learned, and that's what you can believe today. That love can heal and restore anything. So let love transform you. Let grace touch you and begin a new journey, full of faith and hope, just like the soldier did. We don't know the soldier's whole story, but we do know that something miraculous happened to him. Love changed him, and that love can change you too. Open your heart and let love do its miracle. You don't know what awaits you, but you can trust that God's love will lead you to good things. The soldier's story is not only about redemption, but also about transformation. A hardened heart can become soft, and a lost life can find meaning. Don't hesitate to begin your journey. Don't let fear keep you from receiving love. Let the soldier's story be your inspiration to walk in faith. He was a warrior who knew no mercy, but now he understood that mercy could transform even the hardest of hearts. And you can find that too. Are you ready to open your heart to this miracle? Don't let doubt keep you from experiencing the love and grace God has for you. Remember that the soldier was not expecting anything special when he stood before the cross, but God touched him with his love, and God can touch you today too. No matter where you come from or what you've done, God's love is still available. That's the message of sacrifice, the message of grace for all of us. And when you accept that love, you will see that everything can change. A peace that surpasses all understanding will envelop you, just as the soldier felt. The soldier learned that God's love is something that cannot be denied, that love is greater than fear, greater than death, and that is the message we need to remember every day. He left without knowing what awaited him, but with the certainty of one thing. He had been touched, he had been transformed, and he carried that love with him to share it with the world. You too can carry that love with you. It doesn't require you to be perfect, just to be willing to be touched. God's love can do wonders in you. The soldier went through a great change. From being someone who caused pain, he became someone who sought forgiveness and peace. You too can begin that journey. Let his story be a reminder that no one is unforgivable. Jesus died for all of us, so that we might live in the freedom of grace. You may feel unworthy, but remember that that soldier felt that way too, and God loved him, despite his mistakes. That's true for you too. The soldier left the cross not only with regret, but with new hope. He knew that no matter his past, he could still be loved and accepted. Let the soldier's story inspire you. Don't let your past keep you from receiving God's love and grace. You deserve to be loved and healed. God's love is powerful and full of mercy. That soldier was touched by that love, and you can be too. Just open your heart and let God do wonders. When you feel overwhelmed by your mistakes, remember that grace is always greater. Jesus took upon himself all our sins so that we could walk in freedom. The soldier left, but he carried with him a new faith, a faith that love can change the world, and that he had been forgiven and loved. Don't think you have to be perfect to be loved. The soldier wasn't perfect, but God loved him. This is also true for you. God's love is always available. I was someone who didn't know mercy, but now I understood that mercy could change even the hardest of hearts, and you too can be transformed. The soldier never forgot the moment he met Jesus. That was the moment that changed his life, and it can do the same for yours. We don't need to be worthy to be loved. That's what grace is, a gift to the undeserving. Let that grace touch you and work wonders in you. The soldier's journey is proof that love and forgiveness are always available to anyone. No matter who you are, God's love awaits you. You don't have to change the past, because God's grace has covered it all. The soldier learned this, and you can accept that truth today too. That is the power of the cross, to transform the unworthy into people who are loved, forgiven, and called to a new life. You don't need to have all the answers. Just believe and receive that love. That's what the soldier did, and it changed everything. Love can melt all fears. It can heal all wounds. The soldier felt it, and you can feel that miracle too. Remember that you do not walk alone. God's love will accompany you, guide you, and transform you, just as it accompanied and transformed the soldier. The soldier found hope at the cross, and you too can find that hope today, no matter where you are in life. Let love guide you. Open your heart and let love do the rest. Let the soldier's story motivate you to believe that everything can change and that you too deserve to be loved. No one is too far gone to be redeemed. That soldier learned that even those who seem impossible to change can be transformed by the love of God. In the end, we all have a choice, to open our hearts or to close them. The soldier chose to open his heart, and he found life. You can choose that today too. God doesn't look for the perfect. He looks for those who know they need him. The soldier knew he needed God, and that changed everything. Let that love touch you. Let grace work wonders. You don't know what awaits you, but you can trust that God will never leave you. The soldier's story is a reminder that God's love can transform any life, and that love is for you too, today, right now. The soldier's story shows that even those who seem impossible to change can be transformed by love. That is the power of grace, the power of forgiveness. This transformation was not due to human effort, but to the presence of God. When God touches you, nothing can stop the change. That soldier went from being a hard and insensitive warrior to a witness of love. And that is a reminder that no one is beyond redemption. We don't need to be perfect to get close to God. That soldier wasn't perfect either, but he was transformed by God's unconditional mercy. Imagine, if you allow God's love to soften your heart, what might change? Fears, regrets, might be replaced by peace and hope. No one is too far gone to be saved, and there is no mistake greater than the grace of God. That is what the soldier learned, and it is what we need to believe today. That soldier found forgiveness and love on the cross. That is the invitation for all of us, to come closer to God, receive forgiveness, and live a new life. You may be carrying pain or guilt, but remember that grace is always available. Jesus died so that you could live in freedom. God's love is like no other. It is a sacrificial love, a forgiving love, and a love that can heal any wound, no matter how deep. Don't wait any longer. Love is waiting for you. Walk with the certainty that you are never alone and that you are always loved. Let the soldier's story be your inspiration, and let God's love be your strength as you walk, one step at a time, in faith. The soldier found peace, and so can you. It all begins when you believe that you are loved, that you are forgiven, and that you are called to live in grace. We may not be perfect, but God's grace is perfect. And that's what the soldier learned, and you can trust that today too. Remember that you are loved, forgiven, and called to a life full of purpose. Let God's love make you stronger every day. The soldier walked with a peace he had never known, and you too can walk with that peace. Let God's love heal you This story is not just about forgiveness, but also about transformation. Love does that, and God's love can do that for you, right now. So begin your journey. Believe that love can renew you. It can guide you through trials, and it can bring you true peace. You never walk alone. God is always with you, ready to help you overcome any obstacle. Let His love be the light that guides your path. And remember, love never fails. The soldier found that truth, and so can you. Let love be the last and most powerful thing in your life. Open your heart and let God's love do the miracle. You don't know what awaits you, but you can trust that good things will come when you believe and love. The soldier walked away from the cross in gratitude, and you too can walk away today with deep gratitude for God's unchanging love. We are not worthy, but God's love has made us worthy. Let that love fill you with hope and joy. When you feel tired or down, remember that God always holds you. His love is an anchor that never moves. The soldier walked away with a light heart, knowing he had been forgiven. You too can live with that lightness, knowing you are loved unconditionally. And when you leave, remember that your story is still being written. Let God's love be the pen that writes your life, a story of hope and grace. Walk in love, walk in the light. Let the soldier's story remind you that nothing is impossible when God is at work. No matter what you've been through, God's love is greater than everything. Let that love be your foundation, the reason you keep going. The soldier found a new life, and so can you. No matter what you have experienced, God's love can make it all new, today. Let that love be the motivation to forgive, to love, and to live a full life, because you are loved more than you know. The soldier went through darkness, but found light in the cross. Let that story be a reminder that light always conquers darkness. God's love is for you, now and always. Let that love renew you, heal you, and guide you each day. You are never alone. Even though life is full of challenges, God is always with you and loves you. Let that truth be the flame of hope in your heart. The soldier found the truth, and so can you. That love is still alive, still strong, and ready to transform you. When you leave here, remember that you are not just an ordinary person. You are someone loved, called, and filled with purpose by the love of God. We may not be perfect, but we are loved with a perfect love. Let that love be the wind that carries you forward toward a life full of hope. The soldier realized that love is not weakness, but the greatest strength. You too can walk in that strength every day with God at your side. Live in love, in the light of forgiveness. Walk with the confidence that you are loved, called, and created for good things. God touched the soldier, and He can touch you. His love is boundless, and His grace is sufficient for you today. Let the soldier's story be your inspiration to live each day with love, with hope, and with the certainty that you are never alone. If you have been touched by the soldier's story, please let us know. Comment and share your thoughts or experiences with God's love and grace. We would love to know what you are thinking and feeling. And if you have been inspired, please share this video so that God's love can spread to more people. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to not miss the inspiring stories and messages of hope that we will share. We are so grateful for your support. Every like, every share, and every comment helps us spread God's love and light to more people. Let us build together a community of love and support where all are welcomed and reminded that no one is beyond redemption. Thank you for watching this video until the end. May God's love and grace make you stronger every day. Peace and blessings to you.